Welcome to the Merton Heritage Alphabet, an A to Z of our borough's colourful past. M in our alphabet is for Morris. William Morris was a poet, painter, textile designer, socialist and activist. Known as the father of the arts and crafts movement, he argued for the return of well-made, handcrafted goods instead of mass-produced, poor-quality, machine-made items. Born in Walthamstow in 1834, William's youth was split between Essex and the Waltham Forest area. He was educated at Exeter College, Oxford, where he became greatly influenced by the artist and critic John Ruskin, and also formed strong friendships with pre-Raphaelite artists, including Dante Gabriel Rossetti, Ford Madox Brown, and Edward Burne-Jones, who became a lifelong friend. Married to artist model Jane Burden in 1857, Morris later set up home at the Red House in Bexley Heath. This was designed by his friend and architect Philip Webb. In 1861, Morris founded the decorative arts firm Morris, Marshall, Faulkner & Co. with Burne-Jones, Rossetti and various others. Influenced by nature, classical and medieval arts, their designs became highly fashionable and there was great demand for their tapestries, wallpaper, furniture and stained glass windows. By 1871, Morris and his artistic circle were focused around his much-loved home at Kelmscott House in Oxfordshire. However, by 1875, artistic differences and Morris's frustration at the complacency of some of his fellow artists led to the dissolution of the design partnership, and he began trading under his own name. His creative genius, coupled with the design talents of Edward Burne-Jones and Philip Webb, led to the formation of Morris & Co., producing everything from furniture and textiles to wallpaper and stained glass. Their products were sold through a shop at 449, now 264, Oxford Street in London. Morris's design ethic is shown by his quote, "Have nothing in your home that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful." Many Morris & Co. products were designed for private homes, but the firm also took commissions from museums, royal palaces and churches. By 1881, Morris was seeking new business premises. He was particularly keen to find a site where he could mix his own dyes and make printed textiles. He began his search together with his friend and ceramicist William de Morgan, who was also looking for a new site. Together they toured many locations before settling on Merton Abbey, a site just off Merton High Street. Morris was charmed by its picturesque surroundings and, more importantly, access to the River Wandle. The purity of its waters were ideally suited for textile production. The Morris & Co. complex featured a series of weatherboarded buildings, open ground and gardens. The complex included a dwelling house, coach house, workshops, outbuildings, a mill house, pond, orchard and vegetable plot covering some 7 acres. Morris was keen to ensure the welfare of his workers. Many of his craftsmen lived close by with their families, including master carpenter Charles Harding, stained glass worker Walter Wright and tapestry expert Philip Glassbrook. A dormitory building supervised by a matron provided accommodation for young apprentices. Pay and working conditions are said to have been better than other firms, and Morris also provided lectures and entertainment to allow for the education and social improvement of his workforce. Morris & Co. developed a fine range of products benefiting from use of the water of the River Wandle. Here Morris was able to perfect the complex indigo dyeing process using giant vats each 6 feet deep. This was complicated work as it was difficult to get the mixture of dye ingredients correct. Patterns were formed by bleaching part of the cloth to remove the dye. In multicoloured designs, the cloth would be dyed again with each colour required. Morris championed the use of traditional methods and materials, using natural ingredients for his dyes, including madder, birchwood, weld and fustic. Natural ingredients were also used to create printing inks for block printing fabric, using intricately carved wooden blocks. This was a time-consuming and labour-intensive process, as each design had to be built up one colour at a time, ensuring that pattern sections were carefully matched up. Many fabric patterns were inspired by the plants and wildlife that Morris saw from his office window. Morris & Co. also made a fine range of tapestries, some using high warp looms. These were often staffed by young workers, as their nimble fingers were better suited to creating the complex design. A mirror would be placed in front of the tapestry to allow them to see the pattern developing. Morris & Co. also used jacquard looms. These relied on a series of cards. Each had rows of punched holes corresponding to one row of a design. Another Morris & Co. product was hand-knotted carpets. Many of these were produced by female workers due to their manual dexterity. This was lengthy and time-consuming work. It took many hours of patient labour to create each length of carpet. Stained glass at Morris & Co was organised by Edward Burne-Jones and John Henry Durrell, who as a teenager had been personally apprenticed to Morris. Examples of their work can be seen at Winchester Cathedral and Christ Church, Oxford. There are also some fine examples of Burne-Jones stained glass at St Mary's Parish Church in Merton Park. A stained glass design area was set up on the upper floor of the complex to benefit from natural light. Designs were carefully worked up and traced out as cartoons. Coloured glass was then painstakingly traced out, cut and leaded. The ceramicist William Morgan had set up a fine art pottery a short distance from the Morris & Co site, with kilns producing decorative tiles and ceramics in an area off High Street, Collier's Wood. This is now the site of a local Esso garage. These products were sold through the Morris & Co Oxford Street shop in London. Although Morris died in 1896, his Merton firm continued to operate under the direction of John Henry Durrell and Edward Burne-Jones, who died in 1898. Morris's daughter May, a talented designer and embroiderer in her own right, also contributed to the artistic work of the firm. By the early 1900s, Morris & Co had taken on more tapestry work, including a tapestry repair service for the palaces at Windsor and Holyrood. The firm underwent various alterations and some loss of departments, but remained in operation until 1940, when the site was badly damaged by enemy bombing. Part of the site was bought by the Merton board mills for industrial use. The remaining buildings were demolished. In later years, the site was occupied by the flats of the Shaftesbury Housing Association, which you can see here. If you would like to know more about Merton's heritage, visit our Merton Memories website at www.merton.gov.uk/memories. You can also find more information at Merton Heritage and Local Studies Centre, which is based on the second floor of Morden Library.